Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The purpose of this video is to give you a chance to review your answers here prior to taking the quiz tomorrow to make sure that you know what you're doing so you know if you need to get any extra help, go into a Saber Center, email with some questions, whatever you need there. For your review sheet today, make sure that you have your answers out there and you're watching this video on regular speed, okay? And that you are listening to the explanations here because I'm going to give you some hints for what happens on that quiz tomorrow. And also change any answers that are incorrect, okay? So we have two triangles here, and we're to classify the triangles by sides and angles. That means, yes, you need to know those names on the quiz tomorrow. You need to know those, okay? So here we have a triangle. It's got three congruent sides, so we would call him equilateral. It also has three congruent angles that are marked, so it's also equiangular as well. You could also answer acute if you wanted to for the angle name. Either of these would be sufficient in this case. So when we look at number 2 here, I'm seeing that all three sides are different, so that means he's scalene. And I'm also noticing that this angle right here appears to be larger than 90 degrees, so this would be an obtuse triangle. So make sure that you know your angle names and side names for the quiz tomorrow. And now let's get into some of that solving for x. Now notice here we have an x on the exterior of a triangle here. And if you remember that fact, the exterior angle equals the sum of the two non-adjacent interior angles added together. So the 50 plus the 70. So in this case, x would equal 120 degrees. So 120 here. If I look at this next picture over here, I see that I have two triangles, and the parallel line markings here are what's key. This, yes, would be 90 degrees, as would this. That allows me, because the lines are parallel, and because I know there are 180 degrees in this triangle, actually, let's start with that fact. If there are 180 degrees in this triangle and I have 30 here and 90 here, that means 60 degrees is right here in that corner. Now, because these are parallel lines, angle that's marked 30 degrees right here and y would actually be congruent because they are alternate interior angles. So y would be 30 degrees and angle x here, marked x, would be alternate interior with the 60 degrees. So I'd say x equals 60 degrees as well. So filling in those angles using some parallel lines if we need to, that's a big idea. So let's look at number 5. We again have angles on the outside and on the inside here. Because I have that 92-degree angle on the exterior, I know that the exterior angle is equal to the two non-adjacent interior angles added together. Be careful on the slashes on this one. I don't think the slashes are marking that they're congruent just because I think they're marking the angle that's labeled like X and Y. You couldn't have a 50, 50, and 50 in a triangle, and those would be what the measurements would be if they were all congruent like it was sort of marked here. So be careful on this one. But I do know that 92, the angle on the exterior, has to equal my 50 plus my x. So I'd say 92 has to equal 50 plus x. And if I subtract the 50, I know that x is 42. Now if I know x is 42, I can then also decide what y is going to be based on the fact that I have 180 degrees inside this triangle. So if I have 42 and 50, that means I've used up 92 degrees out of my 180. So think with me, how many would be left out of 180? That would be 88 degrees. So angles inside and angles outside, you're responsible to know those special facts. Now we're getting into number 6 here with two triangles, and they are marked with congruent markings. That means that we would have some equal parts here. We need to pick out the two pieces that are in fact congruent to each other or equal. So if I look at the ones with the 1 slash, I'd have 3x plus 2y in that first triangle is congruent to or equal in measure to that 70 over there. And now the 2x minus y piece in the first triangle matches up with the 14 in the other triangle. Now notice we have x's and y's equal number. Remember, this is when we want to do that elimination method. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply this bottom one here by 2. Do you see why I would want to do that? Well, I'm going to leave this top one the same. And this bottom one, when I multiply by 2, I'm setting it up so that my y's would eliminate each other, because I will end up with negative 2y there. And now that I've multiplied everything in that bottom row by 2, I can add these two equations together. I have 7x, no y's, equals 98. Okay, 7x equals 98. And then if you go ahead and divide then 98 divided by 7 in your calculator, 98 divided by 7 would give you 14. So you know your x value is 14. I'm going to circle that. And now, if my x value is 14, I can go back in and plug it in. So I'm going to take this x value and plug it into either of those. I think I might plug it into this top one here. 3 times 14 plus 2 times y equals 70. 3 times 14, ladies and gentlemen, is 42. Plus 2y equals 70. I'll subtract the 42. I'll end up with 4y here. 70 minus 42 would be 28. Careful on that, not 38. And then divide by 2y would also be 14. So you get 14 and 14 here on this problem. Be careful when setting up those two equations. Yes, you're going to have one like that on your quiz where you need to be able to do that systems of equations elimination method. So now we're to the part where we need to be able to practice those congruence shortcuts. So deciding if the pair of triangles are congruent, so that's kind of a yes or no idea. If they are congruent, state which postulate or theorem you use, which shortcut, and write the congruent statement. If they're not congruent, then write not congruent. Remember our choices for our shortcuts are side, angle, side, 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 angle, side, angle, 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 side, and HL. Okay, those are on that little foldable. You need to know those shortcuts. Those are the valid ones. All others are not. So if I look at what's marked here and in number 7 here, I have some options here. If I look at this triangle and this triangle, I see that I have a side marked, another side marked, and an angle in between marked. So if that's the case and I want to use that one, I would write side, angle, side is my shortcut onto why they are congruent. But you could also decide to use this angle, this side next to it, and the angle on the other side, in which case you would be seeing angle, side, angle. So depending on what you see in the picture, you could also slash the third side and say side, side, side. There's more than one shortcut that applies in this picture. So you can have any of those, side, 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 what do we say, angle, side, angle. You could have, thinking about angle, angle, side, I don't think so. I think those are the ones HL you could use because it's the right triangle and the hypotenuse would be marked and the leg would be marked. So these are the ones that are acceptable, any of these. Now, if you say the shortcut works, then you have to write a congruency statement. So then I would say like triangle DGE is congruent to triangle. Now be careful, I'd have to go F, then I'd have to go to E, and then I'd have to go to G, okay, to make sure the markings match up. So that's my number 7. Now number 8 here, be careful again on this one. I see 3 sides marked, see 3 sides marked. But are they marked with the same amount of markings from one triangle to the other? No, they are not. The angles are marked the same, but angle, angle, angle is not a shortcut I can use. And angle side angle sounds lovely, or angle angle side, or side angle side, but because these sides don't have the same markings on them from one triangle to the next, I have to say that these are not congruent. Okay, those are not congruent. So let's look at number 9. Number 9, if I recognize that they share this third side there and I put the slashes on them, I would be noticing that I have side, side, side marked, And then I would say something to the effect of triangle JHK is congruent to triangle. And be careful how you match that up there. Looks like I'd go JLK for corresponding parts. Now number 10, I'm going to slash the side that the two triangles share, and I see an angle, a side, and another side. Now be thinking, before you write it, angle side side is not a shortcut that we are allowed to use. So this is a situation where those two triangles are not congruent. Now you might look at them and go, well wait, it kind of looks like they are, but it's not about if it looks like they are, it's about if that shortcut is there for us to be certain that they are congruent triangles. So let's look at 11. I again am going to mark the side that they share. So in this triangle, I would have a side, the angle, and the other side. This would also be 90 degrees on the other side of that line because he's a 180 degree straight angle there. So I'd have side angle side there is marked as well. So side angle side is my shortcut. And I would say something to the effect of triangle TRA is congruent to triangle GRA. Number 12, you don't have any sharing sides to mark, but you do have vertical angles that need to be marked. So when you mark those vertical angles, you would see that in each set of triangles you have a side, an angle, and another side marked. The angle is in between the two sides where it comes together. So I have side, angle, side, and I would say triangle AKD is congruent to triangle. Be careful how you do this one. It would be TKS. All right, let's look at 13. Marking the side that they share. And you look at it again and you say, I have an angle and I have a side and a side. The angle's not in between the two sides, so it looks like this is angle side side. But because this is a right angle, we can use hypotenuse leg. Hypotenuse leg says that a hypotenuse of the right triangle has to have a mark, which it does, and one of the legs has to have a mark. So hypotenuse leg is valid only for right triangles, and it looks like angle side side at first glance. So be cautious about that. And then I think I will say triangle SPR is congruent to triangle QRP in that order. All right, 14 looks like in both of those triangles you would have side, angle, side. So you would say triangle YZX is congruent to triangle UVT. Couple more of these, 15 and 16. Again, this is a right triangle situation, so be careful. We have an angle, a side, a side. This is another HL. You could mark these lovely vertical angles, in which case if you did this, then you would be looking at side angle side or angle side angle. If you marked the vertical angles, it gave you more options then in terms of what you see for congruent triangles. So any of those would be fine. Then you would need to say triangle JKL is congruent to triangle NML. And number 16, looks like we have two angles and a side not in between them. So I would say this is angle, angle, side. And I'd have triangle GHF congruent to triangle PQR. So identifying the shortcuts, make sure you know those, and make sure you can write a nice congruence statement matching up those letters. Last but not least, filling in a complicated angle picture using all of your triangle facts, using all of your angle facts. Let's go ahead and fill in number 17 here. Starting with angle 1, you have a 130 degree angle right here next to this angle 1. Those two must make 180 degrees together, so you know that angle 1 has to be 50 degrees. If angle 1 is 50, then angle B down here is 75. That means angle 2 is whatever's left out of 180 for that triangle. So I've used up 125 so far. That leaves me with 55 for angle 2. So if angle 2 is 55, then I have angle 3 equal to that because they're vertical angles. So this one is 55 as well. So now you're going, okay, now I need to find 6, 5 in that triangle, it's probably easiest to start with angle 4. Let's go on to this side of the picture. Here's angle 4. We have 60 and 45. If we add those together in that triangle, that's 105 degrees already used up. That means I have 75 left over for angle 4. So 75 degrees for angle 4. That means angle 5 will be congruent to that because it's vertical angle. So 75 degrees there. 75 and 55 is 130. So then that would leave me with 50 degrees left for angle 6. So using all of your triangle facts, all of your angle facts about vertical angles, 180 degrees on a straight line, 180 degrees in a triangle, those are all things that we need to continue to know as the year progresses forward. So I want to thank you for taking time to watch this video to be sure that your answers are correct. And tomorrow is our quiz. Thank you.